Hi, welcome back to Jay's TV. I've got I've got Jackie with me on Newcastle's creditable draw against AC Milan at the San Siro. Our first participation in the Champions League in 20 years, and we've got a creditable point as well. Jackie, absolutely brilliant, wasn't it?
Absolutely fantastic. And as I said before to you today, I think this 1 point away could be crucial in us qualifying for the next stages. Because if we could win a couple of our home games now, we'll be in a really strong position.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, talk about the game. I mean, Eddie Howe's picked gone 4-3-3 as usual. Jacob Murphy's come in. Biggie drops to the bench. Andy Gordon retains his place. The midfield, Tonali's come back in for a start. Jordan's out injured as well. The back four remain the same. And you know what it is, right? I mean, he started well for the first 10 minutes or so. And then Milan and then Milan took over and control the game. He had about 7 chances in that first half, and he didn't take any of them at all whatsoever. Leao, Pobega, Giroud, Hernandez, Girandi, all had chances, and the third beat Nick Pope. When Nick Pope was finally beaten, Jake Murphy cleared off the line. I was really worried about that stage because we had to fix up because Newcastle was all over the place as well. I mean, and Eddie Howe was to fix up very, very quickly. So was you worried at all in that first half?
I think we started brilliantly. First 10 minutes, I was like, whoa, get in, this is brilliant. And then I think AC Milan started to suss us out. And they started to realise that we were pressing, high pressing, but then if they could get the ball on the counter-attack, there was a massive gap between the midfield and defence, and I think they exploited that brilliantly in the first half. But in the second half, I think we were much, much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think Milan underestimate us before the game, thinking like, oh, it's going an easy 3 points against Newcastle? That we never really heard of Newcastle, right? They might be the weakest in the group. Do you think Stefano Pioli, the Milan coach, did his homework properly? Because he was asked questions about Newcastle, and he says some positive things, but he just kind of slapped us in the face again.
I think he thought it was going to be a walk in the park. And I think the players did the way they played. I think they're thinking, right, okay, first game, Champions League, at home to Newcastle, who are they? And I think they were quite sloppy and quite complacent. I think if they'd had a sort of a better mindset, they could have beaten us 3-4-0. But I think they just assumed that they were going to railroad us, and it never happened. But you've got to give a lot of credit to Newcastle and the way, yes, we were lucky, but the way we steadfastly just dug in and were resilient, and some of our tackling and defensive play was amazing.
Yeah, we touched on Sean Longstaff earlier as well. He was excellent for me. I mean, he could have scored a winner, could have been a hero. I mean, that shot was going top corner. He didn't catch it right onto it again, and the keeper had a fine save. He really did.
But I guess it was Elliot Anderson that played him on for that. And I thought he had a brilliant, when he came on for his age and the fact that he's playing the Champions League, he could have easily tried to shoot, but he didn't. He laid on a perfect pass for Longstaff. And we didn't get it, but I don't think we deserved the win, to be honest.
Yeah, you could be right. I think a point would be the best outcome as well. We look at the players like Jacob Murphy, Elliot Anderson, Sean Longstaff, and you got Dan Burn, right? They're not household names at all whatsoever. You're not going to, these players, the teams in Europe, I've never heard of those names at all whatsoever. After last night, I think you hear a lot more.
I think I was looking, before the game yesterday, I was looking down the team sheet for AC Milan, and I'm thinking, where's the AC Milan born and bred players in there? But if you looked at ours, I think I counted in the squad, there was 8 that were either born or have been lifelong supporters. So I think that in itself is a positive, that you've got players there that are playing because they were born and bred in Newcastle.
Yeah, that's a good shout, because not many players is born and bred in Milan or any Italian players. I mean, Pobegas, one of them. Also, you got Calabria as well. The captain's hooked off after half time, and you got Florenzi. I thought he was really, really good when he came on the second half. So very positive going forward all the time. But when you look at it, right, I think Nick Pope, my man of the match. He was outstanding, making saves after saves after saves. Trippier defended properly, fantastic. Botman, you never heard Botman's name being called out for hold of the game, because this guy is an absolute Rolls Royce in the centre of defence. He really is. Dan Burn stepped up in the second half. Yeah. Fabian Schär doing Fabian Schär things as well. I think Leslie be happy with that as well. However, we defended like Trojans second half. They had two chances. Milan, Leao's header went over the bar, and Reynes had a shot, which is quite weak in the keeper.
And then the one where he tried to do the back heel and fell over.
Yeah. I think Rafael Leao needs to be going belly dancing to know what I mean, to be hopeless at that.
But that's why I think they were showboating a little bit. I think they thought, oh, it's a done deal, and they were being too fancy. But if you look at the possession, when I was looking at the possession, I think it was only 56 to them. So it wasn't as if they had massive possession. And yes, they had loads of shots on goal, but loads of them 25, but lots of them off target. So to get back to Pope, I think great. He's had a clean sheet now in the last game, clean sheet against Milan, clean sheet at Sheffield. Then, you know, all the critics of him will shut up, hopefully, and it could just kickstart our season. I think win at Sheffield, it could kickstart our season.
Yeah, I look at the Milan media after the game, like the 5 positives and negatives as well, and some of them are not happy at all. I mean, the former players were not impressed in Newcastle United. They thought we were like boring, was already shot at as well. Obviously, they haven't watched enough of us last season either, and it was the kind of thing we're going to play. But at the end of the day, one thing I'm going to say, right, put the respect on our name, because we're here for a reason. Are we supposed to be here this early? No. We're here for a reason, because we've been fantastic in the Premier League last season. That's why we're here, and that's why we're going to compete. And we should not be scared of these clubs. PSG next come, we'll talk about in a bit. Dortmund as well. They could be the week after 4. I think it's looking good for Newcastle, Jackie.
And people have been getting on Eddie Howe's back today, saying, you know, they got a late flight from Newcastle because he wanted to train at Newcastle before jetting out, and they said they should have trained at the AC Milan Stadium. But I think no. I think what he's done is he's tried to shield the players. He's tried to make it's just a game. It's just a pitch. And I think what we've got to take into consideration is it's our first game in the Champions League. There must have been nerves, like the likes of City go to the San Siro. So, they've been there hundreds of times. So I think another massive positive is we were overawed. The players looked at home, and we've got the perfect result. We've got a point. And that, by the way, that's the first game Milan have played this season when they haven't scored a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've done a fantastic job of keeping a clean sheet against one of the biggest names in European football in Milan, and it's an intimidating place you just mentioned there as well. We got to say a special mention for Newcastle fans that made a journey. 4,500 people went over there. Could have been me as well. I couldn't get time off work. I was so gutted. Great for the content. However, big up for the 4,000 people that turned up. People like Adam Pearson, the Magpie Channel TV, Tyneside Life. Big up to them for turning up, and the rest of the fans as well. They deserve credit.
When you see the media, all the media stuff from Milan, the Newcastle supporters were bonkers but amazing. And then in the game, even though we only had, whatever you said, 4,000 fans, you could hear them in the commentary. And then at the end, all you could hear was the Newcastle fans singing. So again, we might be away, but again, the fans have helped us through. I can't wait to get them back. AC Milan back to St James's. But I tell you what, huge shout out to Tonali as well. It must have been so difficult for him. And I think he didn't play brilliantly, but he did okay. And a huge shout out to Milan, because I thought they might boo him, but they didn't. They were very gracious.
Exactly. He did ask to leave Milan. He was forced out as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what anyone say, but he was forced out by Milan because of the money. They wanted the money, and he came to us as well. And all those people saying that he's unsettled, he's homesick, that's a load of rubbish. He loves Newcastle, and you know what, we are going to look after him. We're going to go on to our next game, PSG, on I believe it's October the 4th. I'll be there as well, and it's going to be a tough game. But Paris Saint-Germain won 2-0 against Dortmund. And do you think Newcastle got a great chance to qualify? I think these 3 games at home is going to tell us where we're going to go.
I think I'm hoping that Dortmund will be the weak link. So I'm hoping we can beat them home and away. PSG, home maybe, but I don't think we'll have much of a chance away. But again, with AC Milan, as I said before, they must have thought before the game, right, we're going to have 3 points going into the second game, and they're going to be a bit twitchy because they've only got 1.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think with Francis against PSG, I mean, they're in the transition as well. I'm not going to lie, because obviously they've got new players there, and it's going to take them a bit of time to adjust. And if you can beat PSG, then Dortmund, then that takes it to 7 points, and the sky's the limit. We could afford to lose 1 game. Do you know what I mean? And that's PSG away. Then you got to beat Milan. But who's your man of the match yesterday for Newcastle? There can only be one, can there? Maybe 2.
Everybody's saying Pope, and I think he was amazing. He does what he does best with his, his like stopping ability. But for me, it was trips. And I think it's not just on the field, it's off the field. I think he was the one with the most Champions League experience, and he led by example. And I honestly don't think I've ever seen him bomb down the wing so much. He just gave 110%. So
yeah,
the media said Pope. Yeah, he was really, really good. But I just thought Trips was amazing.
Yeah, and I look at the media as well. That Louise Taylor as well. She's saying in the headline something is not quite right. She quoted, "At times, Nick Pope could have been forgiven for believing he was taken on Milan single-handedly, but Newcastle's goalkeeper rose to the challenge, earning Eddie Howe side perhaps a slightly fortuitous point. A combination of Pope's save, Milan proficiency, and visiting resilience ensured Newcastle departed Northern Italy wearing a cloak of responsibility or respectability. Not that this was quite the return of Europe's showpiece competition, how I've craved." I think Lewis Taylor, I've met Lewis Taylor, right? I could tell you now, I can qualify telling you, Jackie, she's a Sunderland fan, yeah? And I tell you what, she sounds a bit negative, man. I mean, Lewis, if you're listening, right, I like you, but put the respect on Newcastle's name, please.
Definitely. Pope was the first one after the game that said he was protected by the team. So, I think that's a lot of rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. They could have scored 6 at half time, at least 6 at half time.
I think Pope must have felt awful when he didn't get the England call up, but I think the clean sheet last week and tonight and the last night, and the performance, I think it's just going to make him better and better. What I do think we're lacking at the minute, and it will come because we've got new players, is a bit of a creative spark that we had last year. Yeah. Everything was quite free flowing, quite quick. Whereas this year, I just don't feel like that's there. But if we're winning and we're not playing as we know we can, then it's all good.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, listen, Jackie, thanks so much indeed for coming on and give us your thoughts on Newcastle. And you know what it is, right? On to PSG. I think we'll probably get something out of the game. We've got to feel positive as well. And what a start for Champions League. 1 point, which is a great start. That's the base. We've got to win a couple more games, and then it tells where they're going to go. And don't forget to look for Jackie on Instagram and also on Twitter as well. And I'm going to put the links in the description as well, and the title as well, so you can follow her as well. And thanks so much for coming.